Good afternoon, everyone. It is David Schlotthauer here in the home weather office, back with another update on the latest of El Nino for June 29th, 2023. As always, this is 3 days behind because today is Thursday and not Monday. This is delayed by a little bit because I had a lot going on with other stuff in the weather department and other things outside of the office, so I do apologize if this is delayed by a little bit, but hey, it is pretty much the latest information. Now, if you're new to the channel and you really like these detailed updates on El Nino, please consider subscribing if you're new, hitting the like button, and sharing this video with your family and friends on social media. So let's get started and talk about this El Nino because it is definitely stronger than it was last time I made my video, which was nearly 2 weeks ago, a little over 2 weeks. So of course, there's an El Nino advisory according to NOAA, or the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. They update these once a month, at least this portion of the PowerPoint. And right now, there is a 95% greater chance that we will have a moderate to strong El Nino, at least for the Northern Hemisphere winter of 2023 and 2024. So our recent evolution of equatorial Pacific sea surface temperature departures in Celsius, again, these are anomalies. These are not your actual sea surface temperatures. So when you see these blue colors, don't freak out and be like, oh, there's ice going on across the equatorial Pacific. These are actually departure from normal. So let's just say the sea surface temperature, the actual temperature was 88 degrees over the central Pacific basin over the equatorial. All right. And let's just say it is 10 degrees warmer, right? So that's what this basically illustrates. So we can see ever since April, there has been some pretty substantial warming happening across the easternmost Pacific portion there in the equatorial region. And then you can see down here, even warmer in recent weeks, especially in early to mid-June. This warm water has really spread further west, now covering the central Pacific with warm water anomalies right around about 2 to 3 to even almost 4 Celsius above the long-term average. Now, when we take a look at this is my favorite. This is our Nino region sea surface temperature departures recent evaluation. And so these are different thumbnail portions. So I don't want to confuse you all for this portion of the video. So if you all can follow along as much as you can, that would be great. So up here in this box, okay, I'm going to box this up right in here. This is the El Nino 4 region. So it's this right in here in the yellow, okay? In the yellow. Then this El Nino 3.4, which is this black box that is outlined in the yellow and red. This is the El Nino 3 region in red, okay? So this red box. And then the Nino 1+2 region is this little white box right in here, right off the coast of Peru. So we can see different regions here have different departures. And so we can see the El Nino 4 region now is roughly about 0.7 Celsius above the long-term average, which has warmed a little bit further. That is definitely an El Nino in the weaker side of things. And then the El Nino 3.4 region is already reflecting a moderate El Nino that is right in here. We can see 1.0 Celsius. Then the El Nino 3 region is already almost reflecting a strong event. That would be 1.5 Celsius or greater. So that is this area. Okay, so definitely some pretty high jumping sea surface temperatures here. Big warming since December. I mean, literally 6 months ago, we were way down here in the negative 1.5 Celsius level. We're on the other end of the scale. So we've warmed up literally about 3 Celsius, let alone in about the last 6 months in this region. The El Nino or Nino 1+2 region has cooled off a little bit, but then has jumped right back up. And in fact, right now, it is the warmest anomaly water temperature that we've had so far right now at 2.9 Celsius. It's warming up still, so I wouldn't be surprised in their next update if this eclipses 3 Celsius above normal, which is absolutely substantial. Okay, if you add these numbers up, so if we do a 3 Celsius above normal and subtract that by, or well, go to -2 to 3, that's 5 to almost 6 Celsius degree warm up in sea surface temperatures that we have seen already. Probably a little more than that since these are actually departures, but bottom line, it is warming up. These waters are definitely going for at least at this point that I can see, based on what we have, we might see a strong El Nino, even a higher end strong categorized El Nino by the fall and winter, late fall, especially in the winter time. So sea surface temperature departures over the last 4 weeks are like this. Again, pretty warm. That warm tongue is well outlined here on the map with some isolated anomalies here right along the Peru coast that are exceeding 4 Celsius above average. So we're going to go forward and look at the Central and Eastern Pacific Upper Ocean 0 to 300 meter weekly average temperature anomalies. And what this tells us is the heat content getting warmer? Are we seeing an increase in that? Well, the answer is yes, we still are. We are seeing this jump up overall on average ever since mid-May. Big time. We're right now almost at 1.5 Celsius as far as anomalously heat or anomalously warm in the deep layer of the ocean versus this blue color, which means a below average heat content. In simple words, that's basically what this means. So yeah, we're going up still, not as quick, but still on average, if we follow the average, still on the increase here. And it's going to be interesting to see just how warm or how much warmer this will end up being, because usually by December and January is when El Nino typically peaks. So now let's take a look at our NOAA Coral Reef Watch Daily 5-kilometer sea surface temperature anomalies as of June 28th, 2023. This is 1 day old. These are delayed. I cannot help it. NOAA takes their time at analyzing these maps or this data pointer, these plots for us. So what we're seeing here, again, I repeat, a fairly strong, robust El Nino. This is going to be my thumbnail today because it is absolutely stupendous, pretty organized by all standards, with 3 Celsius anomalies already stretching over into the 120 degree west longitude area, with 4 Celsius waters right around the Peru coast over into the 100 to 80 degree west longitude. So what this tells us is it's growing, it's strengthening. So El Nino is going to get stronger but before it is all said and done. However, what makes this really interesting is this PDO here, or PMM, Pacific Mercadial Decadial something, or PMM, Pacific Meridial something. I gotta figure it out. It is so scientific. It's something new in my tongue, but you get the idea. Really cold PMM and PDO right along the California coast, which really makes this interesting in itself. But what really is concerning, I'm not going to get into much of it in this video, is this really, really warm PDO, or not PDO, NAO. That's what it is. Very, very warm. Okay, we have widespread anomalies here that are roughly about 2 to 3 Celsius above normal. We have some islands here that are 3 Celsius. Sorry about that, just sneezed. But yeah, you know what's sneezing up a warm pipe? Well, let's take a look here right along the Iberian Peninsula here, right off the African coast. Really, really warm waters here. The Canary Current in full swing. Sea surface temperatures here, as matters of fact, are running about 3.5 to almost 4 Celsius above the long-term average. In the Gulf of Mexico, about 2 Celsius above normal. In the Caribbean, roughly about 1 to 2 Celsius above normal. Why is this important? Well, I'll get into more better details about this in my Atlantic hurricane season outlook and discussion tomorrow when I get home, because I work tomorrow. But we're going to really dive really deep into this because this really stands out quite well on this oceanic heat content or departures from normal. Speaking of that, here's a look at the Gulf of Mexico, and this was as of yesterday. We do have 30 Celsius waters. It's really hard to make out. I have a better image to illustrate that here in just a second. But you can see right all in here, really warm waters. Off the coast here of Cuba, really, really warm as well, 31 Celsius. In fact, there's a teeny bit of an island. I don't think you all can see that. 32 Celsius. Man, that is really, really warm. That is hot tub or bathtub water warm. And then down here, right off the Bay of Campeche, or the Yucatan, I should say, little cooler because that's where you get a little bit more mixing, upwelling of cooler water, also along here. And this water up here is already recovering. And remember, this is 28 Celsius. That's 80 degrees Fahrenheit or warmer. That is needed to get tropical storms or hurricanes. And remember, just because it's 28 Celsius, the Gulf of Mexico is always warm enough to support major destructive hurricanes any time of the year. So now let's take a look here at our NOAA Coral Reef Watch sea surface temperatures. These are actual water temperatures, folks. This is not departures by any means at all. But this is really going to mean business. Wait until I show you the upper ocean heat content in the Atlantic. But look at this, right in here, really warm. The 26-degree isotherm is pretty far north. Usually for this time of the year, it is all the way down in here, somewhere like in here. So this is much further north than what it should be for this given time for the 28th and the 29th of June. Water temperatures here are for sure in the mid-80s, even some upper 80s over here in the Gulf of Mexico and the northwestern Caribbean, even close to 90 perhaps, right off the southern Caribbean coast there. So that is awfully concerning, and these water temperatures do represent that typically in mid-September, and water temperatures off the southern Mexico coast right around 31 to 32 Celsius, which is upper 80s to almost low 90s. Now, time for this, okay? This is how much ocean heat content there is below the surface of the ocean, and this is for the Atlantic. And why am I showing you this? Because we're going to do some comparison. And what I'm about to show you is absolutely historically concerning. It is extremely alarming. I don't like using the hype train in my videos. You know that, folks. I'm really trying to hone down and trying to prevent the hype here. But this, folks, is just too much for me to just kind of underdo it, just kind of sweep it off your skin, so to speak. This is very alarming, and it comes down to just how busy the Atlantic hurricane season might actually be. We're not going to get into that much, though, but let's do some comparison here. This is June 29th of 2020. Do you all remember that season? That gave us 30-plus named storms, right? That was a outrageous, historically world-breaking Atlantic hurricane season we have never seen before, more active than 2005. 2005, that is. And then look at this, okay? You can see where that ocean heat content was. Now why did I do that? Let's take down the line. Let's skip that there. Let's draw this again. Let's outline this, and let's compare this to now. Watch this. Boom! Look how much more warmer this is. Look how deep the water is down here in the Caribbean. Look at the loop current here in the Gulf of Mexico. Look at the entire Gulf. Really, really high upper ocean heat content. And yeah, I mean, look how far north that goes. I mean, this right here would support tropical storms or hurricanes. Yeah, in the central Atlantic this time of the year. That is 30 degrees north in latitude. I mean, you don't typically see that until mid to late September. We are in late June, folks, 3 months ahead of where we should be. So this right here is mind-boggling, uncharted, ridiculous. Let's compare it again. 2020 of June 29th, 2023, 2020, 2023. Again, you can see the difference here, just how much it is, especially over here, right off the coast of Africa. It's where it's a lot more significant. Lots of oranges, lots of reds, and that means trouble is out or is coming down the road, probably sometime in July and August, where we'll probably enter another favorable period for tropical systems. But on the side note of that, again, back to our PowerPoint, what I wanted to show you all really quickly is this. Again, lots of warm water below the surface of the ocean in the eastern central portion of the equatorial Pacific means that El Nino will continue, and it's about just how dominant the Atlantic might end up being. Because if it's very dominant, it's going to be lots of trouble for a lot of residents living along the eastern seaboard and the Gulf of Mexico. All right, let's kind of skip through this. I'm going to shorten things out a little bit here so I'm not boring the crap out of you all when it comes to these El Nino updates. But all I'm going to show you all is that we have not filled in a box yet. That should come out next week, I'm hoping, or the week after. And I think it's going to read somewhere in the books of 0.4 or 0.5 Celsius, which would mean a El Nino will be declared officially in the 3-month mean average. Again, there's a greater than 90 to 95% chance that El Nino will continue through the northern hemisphere winter and possibly even into spring. We'll see about that. Something that we're not going to get into since that is very, very far down the road. But some of the models here do indicate that we could be in the books of a strong El Nino or even a little bit stronger than that by the winter time. And forget about the CFS, really downplaying this a little bit because I'm sure right now we're somewhere right over in here, right up in here. So we're ahead of normal. And so it is possible we could still get up to 2 Celsius or so, something that we don't want to end up being in because that means El Nino conditions will likely greatly influence our weather pattern for this upcoming winter. Now, one last thing before I do end it, I want to show you all this to give you all a winter update for this season. I'm going to do the 3-month mean average. Actually, let's do the CFS. We can see by November, December, and January, wetter than normal conditions likely across California and Nevada. We have had a really tough one this last winter, and I think we're going to see another one this winter. Strong winds, more landslides and stuff like that, with more heavy rainfall potentially for the deep south and the southeastern U.S. And then by January, February, March, lots of green here in California and lots of green here in the southeastern United States with drier than normal conditions, possibly for the upper Midwest, for the Great Lakes, and for the Pacific Northwest and for the Northeast. So this winter could be quite interesting as far as temperatures do come along too. It could be a very warm one for a lot of locations. Well, that's going to sum it up for this El Nino update for June 29th, 2023 on this fantastic Thursday. If you did enjoy the video, please make sure you give this a like, subscribe, and share this video with your family and friends on social media. And always hit the bell icon to get latest notifications on this channel because I do try to upload as often as I can possible. It just hasn't been a whole lot going on in the weather department. But yes, I will be doing an El Nino or a hurricane outlook and discussion tomorrow. We're going to dive really deep into that Iberian Peninsula or AMO, which is the Atlantic oscillation, and we're going to get really deep into how the rest of the season might end up playing out. All right, see you then.